Well, hello. Do you recognize me? Have you seen me before? You may remember me as Little Red Riding Hood from 400 years ago. But now I'm Old Red Riding Hood. But I've come back today to tell you the truth about what actually happened on my walk from my mother's house to my grandmother's house. It was New Year's Eve, and my mother was taking down Christmas decorations and rearranging furniture and doing cooking, and she called me in and she said, "Little Red, will you take this dinner to your grandmother?" And I said, "Oh, sure, Mom." And she said, "But I've got 3 rules for you. 1, come back before sunset, because this is winter, and it's short days and long nights, and the nights in the woods are very dangerous. So get here before sunset." "Okay, Mom." 2, stay on the straight and narrow path. Do not deviate from the straight and narrow path. Okay. And 3, under no circumstances, ever, never, ever talk to any stranger. "Okay, Mom, okay." So she handed me the basket, I took the basket, and I walked out the door and down the steps and started prancing down the path. Oh, so excited, and then I sort of started looking around, and it was so nice to be out in the woods, in the nature. I saw the blue sky, I saw the trees, the bare trees waving in the breeze, I saw birds flying by, I saw little squirrels scurrying along on the ground, and I just sort of slowed down and I was just enjoying the view. And after a while, I started getting hungry. You know, I could smell the food in that basket, and I was wondering what Mother put in there, and I was hungry. And so I looked around for a place to sit down, and just a few feet off of the path, there was a log. And I walked over, I sat on the log, I took the food out of the basket and placed it on the log to look at it. And oh, it was all wonderful, but the very best part was this fried turkey leg. Oh my goodness, it smelled so good, and I was so hungry. And I reached for it, and I thought, oh no, that's my grandmother's dinner. But she wouldn't mind if I ate it. And I reached for it, oh no, my mother would be mad. And then I reached for it again, and all of a sudden, a raccoon ran out of the woods and ran up and grabbed the turkey leg and ran across the path and to the other side. I thought, that evil predator just stole my grandmother's dinner. How wrong is that? And so I started chasing him, and the raccoon was going zigzag, zigzag. I was going zigzag, zigzag. We were running through the woods, and all of a sudden I heard, and a wolf ran out from behind the boulder and chased the raccoon and grabbed the raccoon in his teeth and ran off with it. I thought, oh, that terrible, evil predator wolf, and that poor raccoon. But then the raccoon was stealing my grandmother's dinner. How awful is that? But then I was going to eat my grandmother's dinner. Does that make me like the raccoon? Or as bad as the wolf? Oh, no, I don't want to think about that. So I started walking around trying to find my way back to the path. But I was kind of turned around and confused and lost and wandering through the woods off the path. And the sky started getting darker, and the sun was setting, and I could see a bright sunset through the bare trees, and it was getting cold. And I remembered what my mother said about how dangerous it was to be in the woods in the dark. And about that time, a whole cloud of bats flew out over my head. And they were flying back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I looked around to see where they came from. And there was a cave. And I thought, well, that would be a safe place for me to spend the night, in the cave. So I walked into the cave and I looked around, and it was warmer and looked cozy. And I lay down and went to sleep. And then I heard, oh! I opened my eyes and I stood up, again, looking straight at me from the cave entrance. There was a moon behind him, lighting him up. And he was looking at me, and I was looking at him, and I didn't know what to do. And then I noticed I could see my reflection in his eyes. And the way he was looking at me, I think he could see his reflection in my eyes. And he walked a little closer to me, kind of like a puppy almost, and came up and rubbed himself against the back of my legs, and I fell down, and he licked my face, and I petted him. And then we both just sort of lay down next to each other, cuddled up together to keep warm, and I went back to sleep. Then a little later, once again, I heard, "Grrr." I thought, oh no, is he changing his mind? Is he hungry? Am I his dinner? And I opened my eyes and I looked. Again, the moon was still out, and there was a man standing in the opening to the cave, sort of with a light behind him. He looked like a shadow. And I said, "Sir? Sir? Are you a stranger?" And he said, "Oh no, I know you, Little Red. And I'm Dante. I'm a woodman, and I work through here. And I came to see if you needed my help." "Oh, Mr. Dante, yes. Please, can you guide me to my grandmother's house?" "No, Little Red, I'm sorry. I'm on my own journey, and this is New Year's Day now, and I have to finish my journey before the sun comes up. But I can give you advice. All you need to do is wait until the sun comes back up and the bats come back in and attach themselves to the ceiling, and then go outside and look around, and you'll see a goldfinch on one of the branches, and that goldfinch will lead you to your grandmother's house. But your grandmother has wonderful bird feeders on her porch." And sure enough, I went back to sleep. When the bats came back in, the sun came up. I walked outside, there was the goldfinch. I followed it home to my grandmother's house. My grandmother came running out, crying and smiling and hugging. And she said, "Oh, Little Red, I was so worried about you." She gave me breakfast, and then she said, "Now, Little Red, you need to go home to your mother." But I had told my grandmother the story about the wolf and the raccoon and the bats and Dante, and and of course I was a young, naive little girl. I didn't recognize the name Dante. And she said, "Well, Red, that's a meaningful story, but I don't think your mother would like to hear that you slept with a wolf, or that you talked to a stranger in the cave at night in the woods. So why don't you just simplify your story so it doesn't worry her so much?" So I thought, it's okay. So I walked home, and I thought about it, and I thought about it. And the story I came up with to tell my mother is the one you have all heard for 400 years. But now you know the truth of what really happened. And the main important thing is that day, that New Year's Day, was a fresh start for me, because I saw myself in a different light. And even today, as old Red Riding Hood, when I look in the mirror, I see the reflection of the wolf in my eyes. And I feel the energy of the raccoon and the bats zigzagging across the ground and through the air. And most importantly of all, it is the absolute truth that I never stick to the straight and narrow path. I deviate constantly, and I do always speak to strangers.